Well, Winters gripped his phone, knuckles white against the black case, as he watched the live feed from his office's hidden camera. His wife Audrey's pearls clinked against the mahogany desk, their wedding gift, as Dean Caldwell's hands roamed places only a husband should touch. Max's jaw clenched, but his breathing remained steady. This wasn't the first time he'd watched their betrayal unfold, and it wouldn't be the last. Not until everything was in place. "Sir?" Thomas Chin's voice crackled through the intercom. "The R&D team is ready for the demonstration. Give me 5 minutes," Max replied, his tone betraying nothing of the rage coursing through his veins. He closed the feed and straightened his tie, muscle memory from years of board meetings taking over. The walk to the R&D lab gave Max time to compartmentalize. Each step down the sterile corridor reminded him of his journey, from sleeping in his car during the 2008 crash to building Winters' innovation into a technological powerhouse. He'd learned then that comfort was the enemy of survival. Thomas waited by the lab entrance, his prosthetic leg gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "You okay, Max? You seem tense. Just thinking about the merger." Max clapped his friend's shoulder. "Show me what you've got." The lab hummed with activity as researchers calibrated equipment. Their latest project, a neural interface prosthetic, represented everything Max had built his company to achieve. Thomas had been there from the start, the first person to believe in Max's vision when everyone else saw just another failed tech worker living out of his car. "The neural response time is unprecedented," Thomas explained, pulling up the test results. "Watch this." On the screen, a veteran moved prosthetic fingers, picking up an egg without breaking it. "That's beautiful work, Thomas. We're ready for human trials, Max. This could change everything for—" Max's phone buzzed. A text from Audrey, "Working late again. Don't wait up. Everything okay?" Thomas asked, noticing Max's expression darken. "Perfect." Max pocketed his phone. "Tell me more about the trials." The demonstration continued, but Max's mind drifted to Janet Morrison. The intern had been bright, eager, destined for great things until she stumbled upon Audrey and Dean's secret. Now she was just another workplace accident statistic, her fall down the stairs perfectly timed after she'd threatened to expose them. The security footage from that night played in Max's mind. Dean following Janet into the stairwell, emerging alone minutes later straightening his tie. The cameras had caught everything. Not that the police would ever see that footage. Max had other plans for it. Hours later, Max sat in his home office, watching the front door camera as Audrey's car pulled into the driveway. 8 minutes late compared to her usual late meeting arrival time. He counted her steps up the walkway, noting the slight sway in her walk that betrayed one too many celebratory drinks. "Max?" Audrey's voice carried through the house. "You didn't have to wait up." He emerged from his office, expression neutral. "Just finishing some work." "How was the merger meeting?" "Exhausting." She kissed his cheek, leaving behind that same unfamiliar cologne. "Dean's pushing everyone to their limits." "I'm sure he is." Max watched her climb the stairs, noting how she'd switched from heels to flats, stored in her office for just such occasions. "Don't forget about our anniversary dinner tomorrow." "As if I could forget." Her laugh floated down. 15 years. 15 years, Max echoed, returning to his office. The monitors displayed multiple feeds. His office, the stairwell where Janet died, Dean's office, the parking garage. On one screen, email chains between Audrey and Dean scrolled past, each message carefully archived. Another showed financial transfers, corporate secrets being sold piece by piece. Max opened his desk drawer, removing a small black notebook. Inside, dates and times were logged in precise handwriting, building a timeline of betrayal. He added today's entry, then reached for his phone. "It's time," he texted Thomas. "Start the protocol." In another part of town, Catherine Caldwell reviewed her own notes on Dean's activities. The former FBI agent had spent months building her case, each piece of evidence carefully verified. Tomorrow's chance meeting with Max at his regular coffee shop would set everything in motion. Her phone buzzed, a message from Claire in HR about Janet Morrison's email records. The pieces were falling into place. Max closed his notebook, mind already mapping out the next day's moves. 15 years of marriage had taught him patience. Building a company from nothing had taught him ruthlessness. Janet's death had taught him the price of mercy. Tomorrow, his wife would confess her infidelity, thinking she held the upper hand. She didn't know about the cameras, the emails, the financial records. She didn't know about Janet's final message or about Ryan Foster's true role in the company. Most importantly, she didn't know that every late meeting, every stolen moment with Dean, had been documented, cataloged, and prepared as evidence. Max had learned long ago that success required sacrifice, and he'd sacrificed his emotions the moment he first saw them together. The clock struck midnight as Max reviewed the final details of his plan. In 12 hours, Catherine Caldwell would accidentally bump into him at Sterling's Coffee. In 24 hours, Audrey would make her confession, thinking it would destroy him. In 48 hours, the first phase of his retaliation would begin. He picked up a framed photo from his desk. His wedding day, Audrey beaming in white, his younger self looking at her with adoration. The glass cracked slightly under his grip before he set it down. "Time for bed, darling?" Audrey called from upstairs. "Just finishing up," Max replied, his voice warm with practiced affection. He closed the notebook, tucked it away with the precision that had built his empire, and headed upstairs to lie beside the woman who thought she was about to break him. Little did she know, he'd stopped being breakable the day he'd lived in his car, coding until his fingers bled, building the foundation of what would become Winter's innovation. That man had died in 2008. What remained was something far more dangerous, a man with nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. Chapter 2. The Players. Catherine Caldwell adjusted her scarf, checking her reflection in Sterling's coffee shop window. The morning sun highlighted the precise positioning she'd chosen, close enough to the counter to accidentally bump into Max Winters during his 7:45 a.m. coffee run, far enough from the regulars to ensure privacy for their conversation. Her FBI training had taught her the importance of details. She'd spent weeks learning Max's routine. Black coffee, no sugar, sometimes a blueberry muffin if he'd skipped breakfast. He always paid with his corporate card, always tipped exactly 20%, and always stood in the same spot while waiting for his order. The bell above the door chimed at exactly 7:43 a.m. Max entered, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the casual morning crowd. Catherine waited until he'd placed his order before making her move, timing her steps to intersect with his path to the waiting area. "Oh," she exclaimed as their shoulders met, her coffee cup, filled with water, spilling harmlessly on the floor. "I'm so sorry." "No harm done," Max replied, already reaching for napkins. His eyes met hers, and Catherine saw something flicker behind his professional mask. Recognition, perhaps, or appreciation for a well-executed plan. "Catherine Caldwell," she offered her hand. "I feel terrible about your suit." Maxwell Winters. And the suit's seen worse. His handshake was firm, measured. "Please, let me buy you a replacement coffee." "That's not necessary," she started. But Max was already signaling the barista. "Well, thank you." They moved to a corner table, the choreography of their chance meeting playing out perfectly. Catherine noted how Max positioned himself to view both the entrance and the counter, his back to the wall, a habit she recognized from her own training. "Caldwell," Max mused, stirring his coffee. "Any relation to Dean Caldwell?" "My husband, actually." Catherine watched his expression. "Though soon-to-be ex-husband." "I'm sorry to hear that." Max's tone suggested he was anything but sorry. "Dean's my CFO." "I know." Catherine let a calculated hint of vulnerability enter her voice. "That's part of the reason for the divorce." Max's eyes sharpened, though his expression remained sympathetic. "Office romance?" "You could say that." Catherine sipped her coffee. "I understand congratulations are in order. 15 years of marriage today?" If Max was surprised by her knowledge, he didn't show it. "Anniversary dinner tonight. Though I suspect it won't be quite the celebration we'd planned." "No." Catherine leaned forward slightly. "Problems in paradise?" "Let's just say I understand your situation better than you might think." Max checked his phone, then met her gaze directly. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private? I have an office nearby." Catherine retrieved a business card from her purse. "Corporate headhunter now, If you can believe it, life takes interesting turns. Max pocketed the card. Shall we say noon? Perfect. Catherine gathered her things, their impromptu meeting concluding right on schedule. And Mr. Winters? I'm sorry about your anniversary. Max's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Sometimes endings are just disguised beginnings. Across town, Olivia Martinez sat in her office adjacent to Max's, monitoring communications. Her service in Afghanistan had taught her to recognize patterns in chaos, and the patterns surrounding Dean Caldwell's merger dealings set off every alarm in her veteran's instinct. Thomas, she called through the intercom. Can you verify something for me? Thomas Chian appeared moments later, his prosthetic leg making a subtle whirring sound as he entered. What VE you got? Olivia pulled up several email chains on her monitor. These communications about the merger. Something's off. They're copying confidential research data, but the destination servers aren't our usual secure channels. Thomas leaned in, his cybersecurity experience from his military days kicking in. These are being routed through multiple proxy servers. Classic data theft pattern. Dean's authorization code is all over these transfers. Olivia highlighted several sequences. And look who else's credentials are being used. Audrey Winters. Thomas straightened, his expression hardening. Does Max know? Max knows everything. Olivia minimized the windows as footsteps approached. He's been 10 steps ahead since Janet Morrison died. The mention of Janet brought a shadow across Thomas's face. They'd both seen too many accidents in Afghanistan to believe the official story about her fall. The Neural Interface Project? They're trying to sell it to a Chinese firm. Olivia pulled up another document. But they don't know about your embedded markers. No. Thomas smiled grimly. They don't. The office door opened, revealing Claire Davidson from HR. The usually shy director clutched a folder to her chest, her knuckles white against the manila paper. You need to see this, she said, closing the door behind her. I found Janet's final email. Olivia cleared her desk as Claire spread out documents. The timestamp on Janet's last message was 10:47 p.m., exactly 12 minutes before her accident. She knew. Claire's voice shook slightly. About Dean and Audrey, about the data theft, everything. She was going to expose them that night. Security footage? Thomas asked. Corrupted, Olivia replied. At least, the copies in the official system. Max has the originals. Claire hugged the folder closer. Detective Reeves wants to reopen the investigation. She's found similar patterns in Dean's past. Other young women, other accidents. Max is meeting Catherine Caldwell today, Olivia revealed. Everything's falling into place. Catherine Caldwell? Claire's eyes widened. The former FBI agent? The very same. Olivia checked her watch. And right about now, Audrey should be finalizing her plans for tonight's anniversary dinner. In the executive boardroom, Audrey Winters reviewed merger documents with Dean, their professional facades betraying nothing of their personal entanglement. Neither noticed Marcus Reynolds, Audrey's younger brother, accessing the secure servers from his cybersecurity station. Marcus had spent weeks helping Max gather evidence, his sister's actions forcing him to choose between family loyalty and justice. The data transfers he monitored told a story of greed, betrayal, and murder, a story that would soon reach its climax. His phone buzzed with a message from Max. Everything ready for tonight? Marcus glanced at his sister, remembering the values their mother had instilled in them, values Audrey had apparently forgotten. All set, he replied. No turning back now. The pieces were in place. The players had taken their positions. And in less than 12 hours, during what should have been a celebration of 15 years of marriage, Maxwell Winters would begin dismantling the beautiful lie his life had become. Chapter 3. Opening Moves. The dining room of the Winters craftsman-style home gleamed with careful preparation. Max had chosen everything deliberately. Audrey's favorite wine, her preferred flowers, even the specific vintage of champagne they'd served at their wedding. The table settings were immaculate, each piece positioned to frame the moment when his wife would attempt to shatter their marriage. This is beautiful, Audrey remarked, entering in a black dress that Max recognized from her recent business dinners with Dean. You didn't have to go to all this trouble. 15 years deserves proper recognition. Max pulled out her chair. Wine. Please. Audrey watched him pour, her fingers tracing patterns on the tablecloth. We need to talk, Mac. Of course. He took his seat, noting how she shifted slightly, a tell she developed when preparing to lie. But first, a toast? To 15 years of surprises. Something in his tone made Audrey pause, her wine glass halfway to her lips. Surprises? Life is full of them, isn't it? Max sipped his wine. For instance, I never expected my office desk to become such a popular meeting spot. The color drained from Audrey's face, but she recovered quickly. Years of legal training taking over. What are you talking about? Please, Max set down his glass. Let's not insult each other's intelligence. You've clearly been planning this moment. Don't let me spoil your big reveal. Anger flashed across Audrey's features, quickly replaced by cold determination. Fine. You want the truth? I've been having passionate affairs in your office, you big loser. How interesting. Max took another bite of his meal. Tell me more. That's it? That's all you have to say? Audrey's voice rose. I just told you I've been sleeping with Dean Caldwell. Among others, I assume? Max dabbed his lips with his napkin. Though Dean's been your primary interest since Janet Morrison's unfortunate accident, Audrey's fork clattered against her plate. What does Janet have to do with anything? Everything, as it turns out. Max retrieved his phone, pulling up a video. You see, Janet was quite thorough in documenting your activities. Right up until her last night. The security footage played silently. Janet entering the stairwell, Dean following moments later. Max watched Audrey's expression change as she recognized the date. You can't prove anything, she whispered. No. Max switched to another video. Dean and Audrey in Max's office, discussing Janet's threats mere hours before her death. I have 15 years of proof, Audrey. Meeting call, email. You've been spying on me? Anger overtook fear in Audrey's voice. How dare you? How dare I? Max's calm facade cracked slightly. You and Dean killed an innocent woman to hide your affair. You've been selling military research to foreign competitors. And you're worried about privacy? In his hidden office down the hall, Marcus Reynolds monitored the conversation through sophisticated surveillance equipment. His sister's confession had been expected, but her reaction to Janet's death chilled him. Max knows what he's doing, Catherine Caldwell assured him through their secure connection. Stay focused on the data transfers. Marcus nodded, pulling up another screen of data. The feed from Max's dining room continued as his sister's carefully constructed world began to crumble. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Audrey pushed back from the table. Daddy's lawyers will. Will what? Max interrupted. Defend your role in corporate espionage? Or perhaps explain why Dean's previous companies all had similar accidents involving young women who knew too much. I want a divorce, Audrey declared, standing now. And I'll take everything. Max's laugh held no humor. Interesting strategy. Tell me, how do you think the board will react when they learn their potential merger partner has been selling classified military research? Research meant to help veterans like Thomas? You're bluffing. But Audrey's voice wavered. You can't prove any of that, can I? Max pulled up another file on his phone. Your father's firm has an interesting policy on partnerships involved in industrial espionage. Section 7.4, I believe? The part about immediate termination of all financial support. Audrey sank back into her chair, her mask of confidence cracking. Max, we can talk about this. Make a deal. Like the deal Janet tried to make? Max's voice turned cold. Before her accident? In the surveillance room, Marcus watched his sister's expression change. Gone was the confident lawyer, replaced by something desperate and dangerous. He switched channels, checking the security feeds from around the house. All units in position, he confirmed to Catherine. Dean's leaving his office, Olivia Martinez reported through their secure channel. Moving exactly as predicted, Max continued at the dinner table, each word carefully chosen. You know what truly disappoints me, Audrey? Not the affair. People are weak, I understand that. Not even the corporate espionage, though selling veteran assistance technology to foreign militaries is particularly vile. He stood, moving to refill his wine glass with deliberate calm. No, What disappoints me is how you underestimated me. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't protect my company? My people? Your people? Audrey scoffed, reaching for her phone. You mean your precious Thomas and his band of broken soldiers? Max's hand shot out, catching her wrist before she could grab her phone. His grip was firm but controlled. Those broken soldiers built this company while you were spending its profits with Dean. They dedicated their lives to helping others while you sold their work to the highest bidder. You're hurting me, Audrey whimpered, trying to pull away. No, Max released her wrist. I'm stopping you from warning Dean about tonight's board meeting. The emergency session called to discuss Janet Morrison's death and its connection to the merger. Audrey's face went pale. What board meeting? The one Dean's rushing to right now. Thinking he can contain the damage, Max checked his watch. He should be arriving right about. Through their earpieces, the surveillance team heard the screech of brakes from the office parking garage. Now, you planned this, Audrey whispered. All of it. 15 years of marriage taught me patience, Max replied. Living in my car taught me survival. And Janet's death? His expression hardened. That taught me the price of mercy. Marcus watched as his sister reached for her phone again, this time succeeding. Her fingers trembled as she dialed Dean's number. The call went straight to voicemail. He can't help you, Max informed her. None of your father's lawyers can help you. This isn't a negotiation, Audrey. This is consequences. In the office parking garage, Dean Caldwell found himself surrounded by federal agents, led by Detective Sarah Reeves. The CFO's attempted flight to the emergency board meeting had played directly into their hands. Back at the dinner table, Max raised his glass one final time. Happy anniversary, darling. I'd say it's been a pleasure, but we both know that would be another beautiful lie. Audrey stood, her composure finally breaking. You won't get away with this. I'll tell everyone what you did. How you spied on me, trapped me. Like Janet tried to tell everyone what you did? Max's voice carried no emotion now. The difference is, I learned from her mistake. I gathered evidence, built alliances, prepared for every contingency. He gestured to the kitchen door, where Thomas Chan now stood with several security officers. Mrs. Winters will be leaving now, Max instructed. Please ensure she reaches her father's house safely. I'm sure they have much to discuss regarding the merger. As Audrey was led away, her threats dissolving into desperate pleas, Marcus ended his surveillance feed. His sister had made her choices. Now she would face the consequences. Phase 1 complete, Catherine confirmed through their secure channel. Moving to extraction, Max remained at the dining table, surrounded by the remnants of their anniversary dinner. 15 years of marriage had ended exactly as he'd planned. But this was just the beginning. In his office, the portrait of Janet Morrison seemed to watch over the proceedings, a reminder of why second chances were sometimes too costly to give. Max had learned that lesson in 2008, when the financial crash had stripped him of everything but his determination. Now, as his wife was escorted from their home and his CFO faced federal agents, Maxwell Winters allowed himself a moment to mourn what was lost. Then, like the night he'd first slept in his car with nothing but a laptop and a dream, he focused on what would be built from the ashes. The beautiful lie had ended. The truth, as it turned out, was far more satisfying. Chapter 4. Hidden Depths. Claire Davidson stood before Janet Morrison's empty desk, her fingers tracing the nameplate that still hadn't been removed. The morning light struck the brass letters, creating a glare that made her eyes water. At least, that's what she told herself. You should go home, Claire. Detective Sarah Reeves spoke from the doorway. You've been here since dawn. I can't. Claire pulled up Janet's final email on her tablet. Look at the timestamp, Sarah. 10:47 p.m. She knew she was in danger. Sarah moved closer, her practical shoes silent against the carpet. Tell me again about that night. Janet came to my office around 9. Claire's voice steadied as she slipped into report mode. She had proof of Dean and Audrey's affair, plus financial documents showing irregular transfers to offshore accounts. And you advised her to document everything and submit it through proper channels. Claire's hands clenched. I told her to play it safe. If I had known. Stop. Sarah gripped her shoulder. Dean Caldwell has a pattern. "I've found 3 similar cases at his previous companies." Claire's head snapped up. 3. Sarah pulled out her phone, displaying photographs of young women. Rebecca Torres, 2015. Michelle Chong, 2017. Amanda Peterson, 2019. All worked under Dean at different firms. All died in stairwell accidents after raising concerns about financial irregularities. "He's a serial killer," Claire whispered. "A careful one." Sarah scrolled through more documents. Each death ruled accidental. No witnesses, no evidence. Until now. Claire returned to her desk, unlocking a drawer with trembling fingers. "Janet gave me this USB drive before she died. Said it was insurance." She placed it in Sarah's hand. "I've been too afraid to look at it." "You did the right thing waiting." Sarah pocketed the drive. "My tech team can." A knock interrupted them. Ryan Foster stood in the doorway, his lawyer's suit impeccable despite the early hour. "Ms. Davidson?" "Mr. Winters needs the updated personnel files." Claire nodded, gathering papers. Only she and Sarah knew Ryan's true connection to Janet. They'd been engaged, planning a spring wedding when she died. Now he worked as Winters Innovations' legal counsel, placed there by Max to gather evidence from the inside. "How are you holding up, Ryan?" Sarah asked softly. "I'm fine." His response was automatic, rehearsed. "Claire, those files?" Claire handed over the documents, watching him leave. "He's not fine. None of us are." Sarah checked her watch. "I have to meet my forensics team. They're re-examining the stairwell today." "What are we looking for?" "Proof." Sarah's expression hardened. "Dean's careful, but nobody's perfect. He's killed 4 women, Claire. For young women who tried to do the right thing." 5. Claire pulled up another file. "I found records of a similar death at his college. A teaching assistant who filed a sexual harassment complaint." Sarah added the information to her notes. "The pattern goes back that far?" "He's had 20 years to perfect his technique." Claire's voice shook with anger. 20 years of pushing women downstairs and walking away clean. Not this time. Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from Max Winters. "The board meeting's been moved up. Dean doesn't know it yet, but he's walking into a trap." In his office, Ryan Foster reviewed security footage from the night Janet died. He'd watched it hundreds of times, memorizing each detail. Janet entering the stairwell at 10:52 p.m., Dean following at 10:54 p.m., Dean emerging alone at 11:01 p.m. 7 minutes. That's how long it took for Dean Caldwell to murder the woman Ryan had planned to marry. "Mr. Foster?" Max's voice came through the intercom. "A moment, please." Ryan found Max in his private office, reviewing documents with Catherine Caldwell. The irony of Dean's wife helping to bring him down wasn't lost on any of them. "The forensics team found something," Max announced without preamble. "Show him, Kate." Catherine spread photographs across the desk. "Janet was wearing a necklace that night. A gift from you, Ryan." The chain broke during the struggle. Ryan's throat tightened. He'd given Janet that necklace on their first anniversary. "And we found traces of Dean's DNA on the clasp." Catherine's FBI training showed in her precise movements as she laid out evidence bags. He grabbed it, probably to throw her off balance. That's not enough for a conviction. Ryan's legal mind kicked in despite his churning emotions. His lawyers will claim reasonable doubt. It's enough for a warrant. Max's voice held cold satisfaction. Enough to search his office, his home, his computers. Enough to uncover everything else he's been hiding. Ryan stared at the photographs, at the broken chain that had cost Janet her life. "When?" "Tomorrow." Max checked his security feeds. During the emergency board meeting, Dean thinks he's presenting merger details. Instead, he'll be meeting Detective Reeves and her team. "I want to be there." Ryan's hands clenched at his sides. "I need to see his face when—" "No." Max's tone brooked no argument. "You maintain your cover. When this is over, Dean will face justice for all his crimes. But if we move too soon, if we show our hand, he'll run," Catherine finished. "Like he did at his other companies. We can't let that happen again." Ryan nodded, his grief momentarily overshadowed by cold purpose. Janet kept records of everything. Notes about the affair, the financial transfers, her suspicions about Dean's past. We know. Max's expression softened slightly. She was thorough, meticulous. A true professional. She was more than that. Ryan's voice cracked. She was. She was going to make a difference, Catherine interjected gently. And she will. Dean's victims deserve justice, Ryan. All of them. Back in her office, Claire Davidson received an urgent message from Olivia Martinez. The former military intelligence officer had uncovered something in Dean's financial records. Look at these transfers, Olivia pointed to her screen. Large sums moving through shell companies, always right after each death. Claire studied the patterns. Insurance payouts? Blood money. Olivia's military training showed in her precise analysis. He profited from their deaths, Claire. Made it look like legitimate business losses, but he was padding his accounts with their insurance policies. That's why he targeted young women in financial positions, Claire realized. They had access to sensitive information, and their deaths could be monetized. It gets worse. Olivia pulled up more records. He's in debt. Millions. To some very dangerous people. The merger isn't just about corporate expansion. It's his way out. Claire's hands shook as she dialed Sarah's number. Detective Reeves? We found his motive. And his weakness. The pieces were falling into place, each revelation adding weight to the trap they'd set. Dean Caldwell had spent decades perfecting his technique, but he'd never faced an opponent like Max Winters, a man who'd lost everything once and had learned to plan for every contingency. Tomorrow's board meeting would be Dean's downfall. But tonight, in offices and police stations across the city, the players moved their pieces into position, driven by a shared purpose. Justice for Janet Morrison, and for all the women who died trying to expose the truth. Chapter 5. Counterplay. Catherine Caldwell settled into her role as Max's personal assistant with practiced ease. Her FBI training had taught her the art of blending in, becoming invisible while gathering intelligence. Dean barely glanced at her during meetings, never suspecting his own wife was dismantling his carefully constructed world. These shipping manifests don't match our records, she informed Max, loud enough for nearby staff to hear. In a lower voice, she added, 3 more transfers to the Chinese firm last night. Max examined the documents, his public persona perfectly maintained. Have Thomas review the discrepancies. His real meaning was clear, more evidence of technology theft. Marcus Reynolds worked nearby, his cybersecurity expertise allowing him to monitor the digital trail. They're getting sloppy, he reported through their secure channel. Dean's gambling debts are pushing him to take risks. Catherine remembered the moment she discovered her husband's true nature. A misplaced phone, an accidentally opened email, small clues that had led her to investigate his past companies. The pattern of dead women had made her blood run cold. Mr. Winters? Dean's voice carried across the office. A moment to discuss the merger? Max nodded, his expression revealing nothing of their plans. Of course. Catherine, please take notes. In the conference room, Dean spread documents across the table. Catherine noticed his hands trembled slightly, unusual for a man known for his iron control. The Chinese investors are getting impatient, Dean began. They want assurances about the neural interface technology. Thomas assures me we're on schedule, Max replied smoothly. Though I'm curious about their specific interest in veteran assistance programs. Dean's tell, a slight tightening around his eyes, would have been invisible to anyone not trained to look for it. Medical applications have universal appeal. Indeed. Max gestured to Catherine. Please schedule a full presentation for tomorrow's board meeting. I want everyone to understand exactly what we're offering our partners. As Catherine pretended to check schedules, her tablet discreetly recorded Dean's micro-expressions, each subtle reaction adding to their case. Years of FBI work had taught her to read guilt in the smallest gestures. In the R&D lab, Thomas Chin examined his compromised files with growing anger. Each stolen document contained his embedded markers, tracking programs that had recorded their journey through various proxy servers to their final destination. The neural interface designs, Olivia Martinez noted from her station. They're not just selling them, they're weaponizing them. Thomas's prosthetic leg seemed to whir in response to his tension. These modifications, they're designed to override the user's autonomic nervous system. Turn veterans into puppets. Can you prove it? Better. Thomas pulled up his original code. I can demonstrate it. The board needs to see exactly what Dean and Audrey were selling. Olivia's military training recognized the implications. They weren't just betraying the company. This is treason. Get Max, Thomas ordered, his usual gentle demeanor hardened by rage. He needs to see this now. In the security office, Marcus Reynolds tracked his sister's desperate attempts to warn Dean. Each call, each message, was intercepted and logged, building their case piece by piece. She's trying to access offshore accounts, he reported to Catherine. Moving money before the arrest. Let her, Catherine replied. The feds are monitoring everything. Each transfer adds another charge. Marcus felt no joy in betraying his sister, but the evidence had left him no choice. The security footage from Janet's last night played on a loop in his mind. Dean following her into the stairwell, Audrey deleting security logs to cover his tracks. New development, Olivia's voice crackled through their comms. Thomas found something in the stolen files. It's worse than we thought. Catherine moved swiftly to the R&D lab, her heels clicking against tile. The sight of Thomas's face told her everything she needed to know. Show me, she commanded. The technical specifications scrolled across screens, each line revealing the true horror of Dean's betrayal. The neural interface technology, designed to help veterans regain independence, had been modified into a weapon of control. He's selling it to military contractors, Thomas explained, his voice tight with fury. Foreign governments could use this to create armies of controlled soldiers. Our veterans would become weapons against their own country. Catherine's FBI instincts kicked into high gear. This changes everything. We need to move faster. No. Max's voice came from the doorway. We stick to the plan. Tomorrow's board meeting proceeds exactly as scheduled. But Dean's desperate, Max continued, his tone brooking no argument. The gambling debts, the merger pressure, the Chinese buyers demanding delivery. Let him think he's winning. Catherine recognized the strategy. She'd used it herself in FBI operations. The greater the perceived victory, the harder the fall. Max surveyed the evidence of Dean's treachery. Call Detective Reeves. Her warrant just got upgraded to include federal charges. In his office, Dean Caldwell reviewed his escape plans, unaware that each move was being monitored. His phone buzzed with a message from his Chinese contacts, demanding faster delivery of the stolen technology. Soon, he muttered, transferring more funds through his labyrinth of shell companies. On his screen, Thomas's neural interface designs promised a fortune. Enough to pay off his debts, enough to disappear to a country without extradition. He never noticed Catherine's reflection in his monitor, recording his actions. The woman he'd married, then betrayed, had become the architect of his destruction. The pieces moved across their invisible board, each player advancing their position in a game Dean didn't know he was losing. Tomorrow's board meeting loomed closer, promising not the triumph he expected, but a reckoning long overdue. Chapter 6. The Trap. The Winters Innovation Boardroom hummed with tension as executives gathered for what they believed was a routine merger discussion. Max sat at the head of the table, his presence commanding attention without effort. Dean will be presenting the final merger terms, he announced to the assembled board members. Following which, we'll have some additional matters to discuss. Catherine took her position near the door, tablet ready. Through her earpiece, she heard Marcus confirm the building's security lockdown. Federal agents in position, he reported. Detective Reeves has the warrant. Dean strode in, confidence radiating from his expensive suit. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a historic moment for Winters Innovation. As he launched into his presentation, Catherine noticed the subtle signs of strain. A slight sheen of sweat, the too-tight grip on his laser pointer. Beside her, Thomas Chun sat with his laptop open, ready to reveal the truth about the stolen technology. The Chinese partnership offers unprecedented opportunities, Dean continued, unaware of the trap closing around him. Their interest in our neural interface program alone? Yes, let's discuss that program. Max's interruption cut through Dean's pitch like a blade. Thomas, would you share your findings? The screens around the boardroom came alive with data, shipping manifests, technical specifications, bank transfers. Dean's face drained of color as he recognized his own modifications to the neural interface designs. What is this? A board member demanded. Evidence, Max replied calmly, of theft, espionage, and murder. Dean's hand moved toward his phone, but Catherine was faster. I wouldn't, she advised, her FBI training evident in her stance. The building's locked down, Dean. It's over. You don't understand. Dean's composure cracked. The debts. They'll kill me if I don't deliver. Like you killed Janet Morrison? Thomas's question carried the weight of betrayed friendship. And the others before her? The boardroom doors opened, revealing Detective Sarah Reeves flanked by federal agents. Dean Caldwell, you're under arrest for the murders of Janet Morrison, Rebecca Torres, Michelle Chong, and Amanda Peterson. Dean's desperate lunge for the exit was met with professional efficiency. As agents secured him, Sarah continued reading charges: corporate espionage, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit treason. You can't prove anything. Dean snarled, struggling against his restraints. Actually, Claire Davidson stepped forward, holding Janet's USB drive. We can prove everything. Janet was thorough in her documentation. The board members sat in stunned silence as federal agents led Dean away. Max remained at the head of the table, his expression unchanging as he watched his CFO's departure. There's more, he addressed the board. The merger proposal was a cover for technology theft. Thomas displayed the weaponized modifications of his neural interface design. They planned to use our veterans program for military control. The Chinese buyers weren't interested in helping disabled soldiers. They wanted to create controllable ones. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Catherine moved to stand beside Max, her role as his assistant now revealed as part of their elaborate operation. Mrs. Caldwell, a board member sputtered. You were part of this? Former FBI, she corrected. Dean's pattern of eliminating whistleblowers caught our attention years ago. We just needed proof. Outside the boardroom, Olivia Martinez coordinated with federal agents, her military training evident in her precise commands. Secure all digital systems, she ordered her team. No one accesses any computers until forensics clears them. Through the glass walls, Max watched the scene unfold. Years of planning, months of gathering evidence, all culminating in this moment. Dean's arrest was just the beginning. Audrey would be next. Sir, Marcus called through the secure channel. Audrey's attempting to access the system remotely. Let her, Max replied. Track everything. On multiple screens, they watched Audrey's desperate attempts to cover her tracks. Each keystroke, each deleted file, each transferred document was captured and logged, building an irrefutable chain of evidence. Claire Davidson approached Max, her usual shyness replaced by determination. Janet's parents are here. They want to understand what happened to their daughter. Take them to my office, Max instructed. They deserve to know everything. In the conference room adjacent to the boardroom, Catherine organized the evidence for the federal prosecutors. Dean's pattern of eliminating whistleblowers, the technology theft, the weaponization of veteran assistance programs, each crime meticulously documented. The Chinese buyers are being rounded up. She informed Max their diplomatic immunity won't protect them from espionage charges. Ryan Foster arrived with a team of lawyers, his face tight with controlled emotion. After months of undercover work, pretending to admire Audrey while gathering evidence about Janet's death, he could finally show his true purpose. The warrants for Audrey are ready, he reported. Detective Reeves is moving to arrest her now. Thomas Chin's prosthetic leg whirred as he joined them, his laptop displaying the full scope of the technology theft. They modified everything, he said, his voice heavy with betrayal. The neural interfaces, the prosthetic controls, even the rehabilitation protocols. All weaponized. The Department of Defense wants a full briefing, Olivia added. This could have compromised national security at the highest levels. Max nodded, his expression revealing nothing of his inner satisfaction. The trap had sprung perfectly, each player performing their role with precision. Dean's desperation, Audrey's arrogance, their shared belief in their own cleverness, all had led to this moment. Sir, Marcus interrupted, his voice urgent in their earpieces. Audrey's trying to access her father's private server. She's sending messages, claiming corporate espionage. Let her dig her grave deeper, Max commanded. Forward everything to the federal agents. In the building's secure server room, Marcus tracked his sister's digital movements. Each attempt to shift blame, each desperate message to her father's firm, only strengthened the case against her. The evidence of her complicity in Janet's death, her role in the technology theft, all of it captured and preserved. Detective Reeves's voice crackled through their communications. Audrey Winters is in custody. Her father's firm has already distanced themselves. Apparently, Section 7.4 is very clear about partnerships involved in criminal activities. The board members, still reeling from the revelations, watched as federal agents swept through the building. The merger, Dean's desperate gambit to escape his gambling debts, had become the catalyst for his downfall. What happens now? Claire asked, returning from her meeting with Janet's parents. Now, Max replied, his voice carrying the weight of justice long delayed, we make sure this never happens again. Thomas, your neural interface project will continue under increased security. Catherine, coordinate with federal prosecutors. They'll need everything we have on Dean's previous victims. The trap had closed perfectly, each element falling into place. Dean's arrest, Audrey's imminent downfall, the exposure of their crimes, all orchestrated through months of careful planning and cold determination. As federal agents continued their sweep of the building, Max stood at his office window, watching the city below. The company he'd built from nothing, sleeping in his car and coding through the night, had become the instrument of justice. Janet Morrison's death had lit the fuse, but Dean and Audrey's own actions had sealed their fate. The board meeting that Dean had expected to cement his triumph had instead become his downfall. The trap, laid with patience and sprung with precision, had caught not just a murderer, but an entire conspiracy of greed, betrayal, and corruption. Phase 2 was complete. The game had ended exactly as Max had planned. Each player's role fulfilled, each piece of evidence secured. Tomorrow would bring federal investigations, legal proceedings, and the dismantling of Dean's criminal enterprise. But tonight, in the aftermath of the trap's success, justice had finally begun its work. Chapter 7. The Fallout. The moment Dean Caldwell's handcuffs clicked shut became immortalized in Winters' innovation history. The federal agents flanking him provided stark contrast to his tailored suit and manicured appearance. Detective Sarah Reeves stepped forward, her badge catching the boardroom lights. Dean Caldwell, you're under arrest for the murders of Janet Morrison, Rebecca Torres, Michelle Chong, and Amanda Peterson. Her voice carried through the stunned silence. You have the right to remain silent, Max observed from his position at the head of the table, his expression a mask of professional concern masking cold satisfaction. The board members sat frozen, their merger documents forgotten as the scene unfolded. This is ridiculous, Dean sputtered, struggling against the restraints. Max, tell them. This is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Max's voice cut through the room. Like Janet Morrison's accident? Or perhaps you'd like to explain the weaponized neural interface designs you sold to foreign military interests. Thomas Chun connected his laptop to the boardroom displays, bringing up technical specifications in modified code. The original project was meant to help veterans regain independence, he explained to the horrified board members. Dean and Audrey transformed it into a weapon of control. The Chinese military's interest wasn't humanitarian, Catherine added, her FBI training evident in her precise delivery. They wanted soldiers they could control remotely. Disposable assets with no free will. Dean's face contorted with rage. You bitch. You set me up. Your own husband. Ex-husband, Catherine corrected coldly. And you set yourself up, Dean. I just made sure you couldn't escape this time. Sarah read additional charges as federal agents collected evidence. Wire fraud, corporate espionage, conspiracy to commit treason. The list continued, each charge striking another blow to Dean's carefully constructed facade. His attempt to maintain composure crumbled as agents led him from the boardroom. You don't understand, he pleaded. Looking back at Max, the debts, they'll kill me. Like you killed Janet? Ryan Foster stepped forward, revealing himself. Did she beg for her life in that stairwell, Dean? Did she understand why she had to die? Dean's eyes widened as he recognized Janet's fiancé. You've been working here all this time? Justice comes in many forms, Max stated, his tone devoid of mercy. Janet's death was your first mistake. Thinking you could steal from my company was your second. Betraying our veterans? His expression hardened. That was your last. In the adjacent office, Olivia Martinez coordinated with military intelligence contacts. The Department of Defense wants immediate containment, she reported. Thomas's team is tracking down all compromised technology. The company's security systems hummed as Marcus Reynolds monitored his sister's desperate attempts to cover her tracks. Each deleted file, each frantic message to her father's firm, only added to the evidence against her. Audrey's trying to access offshore accounts, he informed Max through their secure channel. Moving funds through shell companies. Let her run, Max replied. The trap's already set. Detective Sarah Reeves handed her badge to another agent and approached Audrey's office, where the former Mrs. Winters sat unaware of her imminent arrest. The detective had waited years to bring down someone like Dean, a predator who used corporate power to hide his crimes. Mrs. Winters? Sarah entered without knocking. We need to discuss your role in Janet Morrison's death. Audrey's legal training kicked in immediately. I want my lawyer. Your father's firm has already invoked Section 7.4, Sarah informed her. They're severing all ties to avoid criminal exposure. As for lawyers, she smiled without warmth. I don't think Ryan Foster will be representing you this time. The color drained from Audrey's face as realization dawned. How long? Long enough. Sarah produced handcuffs. Stand up, please. You're under arrest as an accessory to murder, corporate espionage, and technology theft. In the R&D lab, Thomas received unexpected news. The DoD wants to fast-track the neural interface project, he announced to his team. Full funding, expanded research capabilities. Janet would have loved this, Claire Davidson remarked softly. She'd come down to witness the project's salvation. The work her murdered friend had died protecting. Thomas nodded, his prosthetic leg whirring as he turned to his computer. That's why we're naming the breakthrough after her. The Morrison interface will help thousands of veterans reclaim their lives. The day that had begun with Dean's confident merger presentation ended with 2 arrests, multiple federal investigations, and the exposure of a years-long criminal conspiracy. Max watched from his office as agents escorted Audrey to a waiting vehicle, her designer outfit incongruous with the handcuffs. Phase 3 complete, Catherine reported, joining him at the window. The federal prosecutors are confident. Between the physical evidence, financial records, and witness testimony, they won't escape justice this time, Max finished. Janet's parents? Claire's with them now, explaining everything. Ryan's offered to represent them in the civil suit, pro bono. Max nodded, satisfaction evident in his bearing. The company he'd built from nothing, sleeping in his car and coding through endless nights, had become the instrument of justice. Dean's arrogance, Audrey's betrayal, their shared contempt for lives they considered disposable, all had led to this moment. Thomas's voice came through the intercom. Sir? The DoD representatives are here for the emergency briefing. Coming. Max straightened his tie, the gesture reminiscent of countless board meetings. But today wasn't about profits or mergers. Today was about consequences. The fallout from Dean's arrest rippled through corporate America. Other companies began internal audits, fearing similar scandals. The business world watched as Winters' innovation transformed from a technology leader into a symbol of corporate accountability. And in a holding cell, Dean Caldwell began to understand the true meaning of karma. His cellmate, a former military officer who'd lost his son to a corrupt corporate cover-up, had plenty of thoughts to share about workplace safety. Chapter 8. Justice Served. The federal courthouse buzzed with tension as the trials began. Months of preparation had led to this moment. Dean Caldwell and Audrey Winters facing justice for their crimes. Ryan Foster stood before Janet's parents in the witness preparation room. Are you ready for this? Mrs. Morrison gripped her husband's hand. Janet deserves justice. All those women do. The prosecution's case unfolded like a masterclass in criminal investigation. Detective Sarah Reeves presented evidence from Dean's previous victims, Rebecca Torres, Michelle Chong, Amanda Peterson. Each death ruled accidental, each woman silenced after discovering corporate misconduct. The pattern is clear. The prosecutor addressed the jury. Mr. Caldwell used his position to identify threats, eliminated those threats, and profited from their deaths through insurance fraud. Claire Davidson's testimony about Janet's final days drew tears from the gallery. She recounted their last conversation, the USB drive Janet had entrusted to her, the young intern's determination to expose the truth. She knew the risks, Claire stated, her voice steady, but she believed in doing what was right. Marcus Reynolds's testimony against his sister proved devastating to Audrey's defense. His detailed account of her role in covering up Janet's death, the technology theft, the offshore accounts, each revelation stripped away her pretense of innocence. My sister chose money over morality, Marcus concluded. She helped kill a young woman to protect her affair. Audrey's attempt to play victim backfired spectacularly. Her claims of manipulation by Dean crumbled under cross-examination by Ryan Foster, who revealed their premeditated plans to sell classified technology. You deleted security footage the night Janet died, Ryan pressed, his grief channeled into precise legal strategy. Why do that if you were an innocent victim? Throughout the trials, Max maintained his public role as concerned CEO while orchestrating the final pieces of justice. The civil suit against Dean and Audrey, handled pro bono by Ryan, sought damages that would strip them of everything. The Morrison Foundation will help other whistleblowers, Claire explained to the board. Provide legal support, protection, resources. No one should die for doing the right thing. Thomas Chin's testimony about the weaponized technology sealed their fate. His presentation of the modified neural interface designs proved their intent to harm veterans, a betrayal that sparked outrage among military families. They didn't just steal research, Thomas explained. They tried to turn wounded warriors into weapons against their own country. Catherine's FBI experience proved invaluable in connecting the financial crimes. Her analysis of Dean's gambling debts, the insurance fraud, the technology sales, all painted a picture of calculated evil. The verdicts, when they came, brought both justice and closure. Dean Caldwell, guilty on all counts, including 4 counts of first-degree murder. Audrey Winters, guilty as an accessory, with additional convictions for corporate espionage and technology theft. Janet Morrison's death exposed more than corporate corruption, Sarah Reeves told reporters outside the courthouse. It revealed a pattern of predatory behavior that had gone unchecked for too long. The civil trial proved equally devastating. Ryan Foster's meticulous presentation of damages, combined with evidence of Dean's insurance fraud scheme, resulted in a record settlement for Janet's family. My daughter dreamed of making a difference in corporate America, Mr. Morrison addressed the court. Through the foundation that bears her name, she still will. Claire's vision for the Janet Morrison Foundation took shape during the trials. Working with other victims' families, she created a support network for workplace whistleblowers, providing legal aid, security, and protection. We're changing corporate culture, she explained to potential donors. Creating safe channels for reporting misconduct, protecting those brave enough to speak up. As the legal proceedings concluded, Max ensured the consequences extended beyond the courtroom. His influence in the business world helped blacklist anyone who'd enabled Dean's crimes. Companies that had looked the other way found themselves cut off from partnerships, their reputations tainted by association. Audrey's law license, suspended during the trials, was permanently revoked. Her father's firm, eager to distance themselves from the scandal, cooperated fully with investigators, revealing even more financial crimes. Your sister went down fighting, Catherine told Marcus as they reviewed the final trial transcripts. Blamed everyone but herself. Marcus nodded, his expression grim. She blamed me most of all. Called my testimony the ultimate betrayal. You chose justice over family loyalty, Catherine replied. That takes real courage. The trial's impact rippled through corporate America. Other companies, fearing similar scandals, implemented stronger oversight and whistleblower protections. The business world watched as Winter's innovation transformed from a technology leader into a model of corporate accountability. Dean's sentencing hearing brought final closure. The judge, citing his pattern of murdering young women who threatened his schemes, imposed maximum sentences to run consecutively. You will never again be in a position to harm those who trust you, the judge declared. Your time manipulating corporate power to destroy lives is over. Chapter 9. New Beginnings. 1 year after Dean Caldwell's conviction, Winters Innovation had undergone a remarkable transformation. The company's focus on veteran support and workplace safety attracted top talent and ethical investors. Max stood in the lobby, studying Janet Morrison's portrait. The young intern's smile served as a daily reminder of why they'd fought so hard for justice. Beside him, Catherine, now Catherine Winters, reviewed the quarterly ethics report. Claire's presentation to the board went well, she noted. The foundation's already helped prevent 3 potential whistleblower deaths at other companies. Janet would be proud, Max replied, his hand finding Catherine's. Their relationship, born from shared determination to expose Dean's crimes, had blossomed into something neither expected. Thomas Chin's prosthetics division had expanded dramatically under Department of Defense funding. The Morrison interface, refined and perfected, was transforming veterans' lives across the country. Watch this, Thomas demonstrated to a group of military officials. A young veteran, using the neural interface, played piano with prosthetic hands. Each movement precise, natural, controlled. This is what Janet protected, Thomas explained. Not weapon technology, but hope. The ability to rebuild lives. Olivia Martinez's corporate security division worked closely with Claire's ethics department, creating a model other companies sought to emulate. Their combined military and HR experience helped identify potential threats before they became tragedies. Another company requested our whistleblower protection protocols, Olivia reported during their weekly meeting. That's 15 this quarter. Claire nodded, her former shyness replaced by quiet confidence. The foundation's expanding too. We're opening offices in 3 more cities. Ryan Foster found unexpected healing through his work with Janet's foundation. Each whistleblower he protected, each corrupt executive he helped expose, honored her memory. She wanted to make corporate America safer, he told a group of law students. Through our work, she still does. Detective Sarah Reeves became a regular at their weekly coffee meetings, sharing updates on corporate corruption cases. Her partnership with Winters Innovation helped other police departments recognize patterns of workplace violence. Dean's case changed how we investigate corporate accidents, she explained. No more accepting convenient explanations without proper investigation. Marcus Reynolds, initially torn between family loyalty and justice, found his true family among them. His sister's actions had shown him the importance of moral courage over blood ties. The new cybersecurity protocols are working, he reported during a staff meeting. We've already caught 2 attempts at data theft this month. The merged company, now led jointly by Max and Catherine, focused on expanding their veteran support programs while maintaining strict ethical oversight. The boardroom where Dean had planned his crimes became a center for corporate responsibility training. Ready for the board meeting? Catherine straightened Max's tie one morning. Claire's presenting the quarterly ethics report. Lead the way, Mrs. Winters. Max's hand rested briefly on her growing belly. Their personal new beginning. The conference room that had witnessed Dean's downfall now hosted discussions of workplace safety and technological innovation. Claire's presentation highlighted the foundation's success in preventing corporate crimes. By the way, Catherine whispered as they walked to their seats, I have some news to share later. Max caught her subtle gesture and grinned. Their future child would grow up in a company built on justice and integrity, a legacy worthy of Janet's sacrifice. In his office, Max glanced at the plaque beside his degrees. In memory of Janet Morrison, justice, truth, compassion, the words reminded him daily why they fought so hard to make things right. And in a maximum security prison, Dean Caldwell faced his own form of justice. His cellmate, Janet's former military father, had strong opinions about workplace safety and protecting young employees. The story of Winters Innovation's transformation became a case study in corporate ethics. Janet Morrison's dream of making the business world safer lived on through the foundation bearing her name, while the company she died protecting helped veterans rebuild their lives. Some victories, Max reflected, watching Catherine lead the board meeting, come at a terrible price. But they remind us why the fight matters. The portrait in the lobby, a smiling intern with dreams of making a difference, watched over a company transformed by tragedy into triumph. Janet's legacy lived on in each life saved, Each veteran helped, each whistleblower protected. And in the end, that was the greatest revenge of all, building something meaningful from the ashes of evil. Epilogue. 5 years later, Max Winters studied the latest quarterly report from the Janet Morrison Foundation, his daughter Janet Catherine Winters playing with blocks on his office floor. At 4 years old, little JK, as they called her, already showed the same determination that had driven her namesake to stand up against corruption. "Daddy, look." She held up a complex structure built from her blocks. "It's like you're building." "That's beautiful, sweetheart." Max checked his watch. Catherine would be finishing her keynote speech at the Corporate Ethics Summit any minute now. Their son Thomas, just turning 2, was with Claire Davidson in the company daycare center, a facility she'd insisted on adding to support working parents. The foundation's report detailed impressive progress. 37 whistleblowers protected in the past quarter alone, 3 major corporate corruption schemes exposed, and a new international division opening in London. Claire's vision had expanded far beyond their initial goals. "Mr. Winters?" Olivia Martinez's voice came through the intercom. "The DoD representatives are here for the quarterly review. Send them up." Max gathered his daughter's toys. "Time to see Uncle Thomas, JK." Thomas Chin's prosthetics division had become the company's crown jewel. The Morrison interface was now standard care for disabled veterans across the country, with a civilian version approved for release next month. His research team had expanded to 300 people, all focused on improving quality of life for those with disabilities. "How's my favorite architect?" Thomas greeted JK as Max dropped her at the R&D playroom, another Claire Davidson innovation. The space allowed employees' children to observe and learn about the company's mission in a safe environment. "Building big things," JK announced, running to join other children, watching a demonstration of the latest prosthetic improvements. "Just like your father," Thomas smiled. He turned to Max. "Ryan's team finished reviewing the London contracts. We're clear to begin operations next quarter." Ryan Foster had transformed his grief over Janet Morrison's death into a powerful force for corporate accountability. His legal team, specializing in whistleblower protection and corporate ethics, had offices in 12 cities. He'd recently married Sarah Reeves, the detective's investigative skills complementing his legal expertise in their shared mission to protect the vulnerable. "How's Sarah's task force doing?" Max asked as they walked to the conference room. 3 arrests last week," Thomas reported. "Corporate executives trying to bury safety violations at a pharmaceutical company." Sarah said it reminded her of Dean's pattern, identifying and removing potential whistleblowers. Dean Caldwell remained in maximum security prison, his attempts at appeal repeatedly denied. Janet's father, his former cellmate, had eventually been transferred, but not before ensuring Dean understood the full impact of his crimes. Audrey, serving a shorter sentence in a federal facility, had attempted to publish a memoir claiming victimhood, only to have Marcus Reynolds release evidence proving her willing participation in Janet's death. The conference room, now named the Morrison Innovation Center, hummed with activity as Department of Defense officials reviewed the latest prosthetic developments. Catherine joined them, fresh from her speech. The summit went well, she whispered to Max. Claire's presentation on preventing workplace retaliation got a standing ovation. 3 more Fortune 500 companies signed up for our protection protocols. Catherine's transition from FBI agent to corporate ethics leader had inspired a new generation of business students. Her case study on Dean's downfall was required reading at top business schools, teaching future executives about the importance of corporate accountability. "Mrs. Winters?" Marcus Reynolds appeared in the doorway. "We've got a situation developing at the European branch." Marcus had become their head of global security, his expertise in cybersecurity expanding to match their international growth. The betrayal by his sister had driven him to create unprecedented protection systems for whistleblowers and corporate data. "What kind of situation?" Catherine's investigative instincts kicked in. "Another Dean Caldwell type," Marcus explained. "CEO targeting employees who questioned his environmental violations. We caught it early. Claire's protocols worked perfectly. Sarah's counterparts at Interpol are moving in now." Max nodded with satisfaction. The systems they'd built in Janet's memory were working, preventing others from suffering her fate. The company culture she'd died trying to protect had become a model for corporate responsibility worldwide. Later that evening, The extended family gathered at Max and Catherine's home. A tradition started after Dean's conviction. Claire Davidson arrived with her husband, a former whistleblower she'd helped protect. Their twin boys played with J.K., while baby Thomas toddled after them. The London office passed final inspection, Ryan Foster announced, his arm around Sarah's waist. Their own daughter, barely 6 months old, slept peacefully in a carrier. We can start accepting international cases next month. Perfect timing, Olivia Martinez added. My intelligence contacts reported increased retaliation against whistleblowers in European tech firms. We'll need the expanded resources. Thomas Chan demonstrated his latest breakthrough to the group, a neural interface allowing fine motor control of previously impossible precision. Watch this, he instructed, using a prosthetic hand to perform intricate origami. The Morrison interface's 5th generation. Janet would have loved seeing this. Her portrait still hung in the lobby of Winter's Innovation headquarters, but Janet's legacy extended far beyond a single image. The foundation bearing her name had helped hundreds of whistleblowers expose corruption without fear of retaliation. Claire's ethics department had become a global leader in corporate responsibility training. Remember when we first planned this? Catherine asked Max quietly, watching their children play. Taking down Dean seemed like the end goal. We never imagined. Janet showed us corruption could be fought, Max replied. Dean showed us why it had to be. The doorbell rang, Sarah's former partner delivering updated files on their latest case. The detective division specializing in corporate crimes had expanded nationwide, with Sarah training new investigators to recognize patterns similar to Dean's. 6 potential victims identified, she reported. All young employees who reported safety violations. The CEO was following Dean's playbook, isolating them, staging accidents. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Claire's team got them all out safely, Sarah smiled. The CEO's being arrested as we speak. His own board turned on him when they saw the evidence. Marcus checked his phone. It's trending already. Hashtag Janet's mission is the top hashtag. The phrase had become a rallying cry for corporate accountability. Students studied the case, executives feared it, and whistleblowers drew strength from it. Janet's dream of making the business world safer had grown beyond anything she could have imagined. In the backyard, J.K. had organized the other children to build a massive block structure. It's a safe place, she explained to the adults. Like Daddy's company. Claire wiped away tears, remembering her last conversation with Janet. She would have loved this, she whispered. All of it. The Morrison interface had expanded beyond prosthetics, with Thomas's team developing applications for various disabilities. Veterans who'd lost hope found new purpose, while the technology Janet died protecting helped thousands reclaim their independence. The Chinese firm that tried to weaponize the interface? Olivia updated the group. They went bankrupt last quarter. Turns out ethical business practices actually improve the bottom line. The lesson hadn't been lost on corporate America. Winter's Innovation stock had tripled since implementing their whistleblower protection protocols. Other companies, seeing the benefits of ethical leadership, followed their example. Catherine checked her own phone. The European CEO is in custody. His board's requesting our ethics team to oversee corporate restructuring. Sinclair, Max decided. She can evaluate their whistleblower protocols while Ryan's team reviews their legal exposure. The collaboration between departments had become seamless. Claire's ethics team identifying risks, Olivia's security division protecting whistleblowers, Ryan's lawyers ensuring justice, and Sarah's investigators gathering evidence. All supported by Marcus's cybersecurity protocols and Thomas's innovative technology. Uncle Marcus. J.K. called from her block city. We need a security system. Marcus joined the children, showing them how to build protective walls. His sister's betrayal had led him to create both physical and digital protection systems, ensuring no other whistleblower would die exposing corruption. The foundation's expanding again, Claire announced during dinner. We're adding a research division to study patterns of corporate retaliation. Early detection could save more lives. Janet would have run that division, Ryan mused. She had an instinct for recognizing threats. She still does, Catherine replied softly. Through all of us. The children had fallen asleep in their block city, protected by Marcus's walls and Thomas's technological innovations. The next generation of corporate leaders, already learning the importance of ethics and accountability. Max surveyed his extended family. The team that had helped him expose Dean's crimes had become something far more. Catherine's investigative skills, Thomas's technological genius, Claire's ethical leadership, Ryan's legal expertise, Sarah's detective work, Marcus's security systems, and Olivia's intelligence background had combined to create a force for positive change. The plaque commemorating Janet Morrison had been joined by others: awards for corporate ethics, recognition for whistleblower protection, honors for technological innovation. But Janet's remained central, her sacrifice continuing to inspire their mission. To Janet, Max raised his glass, who showed us corruption could be fought. To the Morrison interface, Thomas added, technology that helps instead of harms. To the Foundation, Claire continued, protecting those who speak truth to power. To justice, Ryan and Sarah said together, in the courtroom and beyond. To security, Marcus offered, both digital and human. To intelligence used wisely, Olivia nodded, for protection, not profit. To the future, Catherine concluded, watching their sleeping children, built on truth and accountability. The legacy of that fateful year, when an intern's death exposed corruption and led to transformation, continued growing. Dean Caldwell's attempts to silence Janet Morrison had instead amplified her message, creating ripples of change throughout corporate America. In the lobby of Winters Innovations headquarters, Janet's portrait watched over a new generation of employees dedicated to ethical business practices. The company she died protecting had become a beacon of corporate responsibility, while the foundation bearing her name ensured no other whistleblower would face retaliation alone. Max's phone buzzed, another CEO exposed, another whistleblower protected, another victory for corporate accountability. The game Dean Caldwell started had changed corporate culture forever, transforming tragedy into triumph. Daddy? JK stirred sleepily. Tell me about Janet again? Max picked up his daughter, named for two women who'd changed his life, Janet Morrison's courage and Catherine's determination. She made the world better, sweetheart. And because of her, we keep making it better still. The night deepened as the extended family shared more stories, planned more expansions, and celebrated their shared mission. In prison, Dean Caldwell might rage against his fate, and Audrey might plot her memoirs, but their attempts at corruption had led to something transformative, a legacy of protection, innovation, and justice that would outlive them all. And somewhere, Max liked to think, Janet Morrison was smiling at what her sacrifice had built. A future where truth prevailed, whistleblowers were protected, and corporate accountability wasn't just a dream but a reality enforced by those who'd learned from her courage. The block city in the backyard stood as a symbol of their work, built by children who would grow up understanding the importance of ethical leadership, protected by the systems their parents had created, and standing as testament to a future where business served humanity rather than exploited it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new whistleblowers to protect, new corruption to expose. But the legacy of Janet Morrison, transformed through tragedy into triumph, would continue guiding them toward a better, more accountable corporate world. The game Dean Caldwell started had ended in checkmate, but the real victory wasn't in his defeat. It was in the positive changes that followed, the lives saved, the corruption exposed, and the ongoing mission to ensure no other whistleblower died seeking justice. Max held Catherine close as they watched their children sleep, surrounded by the family that tragedy had forged. We did it, he whispered. We really did it. No, Catherine corrected gently. Janet did it. We're just carrying on her work. And in offices around the world, that work continued, protecting the vulnerable, exposing corruption, and building a corporate culture where ethics mattered more than profits. The game was over, but the mission lived on, growing stronger with each passing year. Dean's prison cell might feel like an ending, but for those gathered in Max's home, it was just the beginning of a greater purpose, one that would continue as long as truth needed defenders and whistleblowers needed protection. Janet Morrison's dream had become reality, reaching far beyond one company to transform corporate culture itself. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.